Chapter 521, A Bad Person. 3 days were left until it was July. Since the last gathering, Baizhu was waiting for the right time. Senior Dan Yuan should be quite concerned about this royal family union. Perhaps his people will come. Jing said everything will go smoothly. I wonder if he's dealing with something dangerous again. Senior Dan Yuan gave her a sense of reliability, while Jing made her feel that danger was everywhere. It wasn't that he was dangerous, but it made her feel like he was always involved in something dangerous. The heavenly fate misfortune pearl was with him. He was also the first to know about the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. Who knows what other dangerous things he had on him? Fortunately, everyone was here for a gathering, so conflicts were unlikely to arise. Shaking her head with a sigh, Baizhu decided to complete the task at hand first. In the courtyard, she sipped tea and looked at the gate. She waited for the Shangguan family's response and also her elder brother. Only 3 days were left until the main event. She felt that the Shangguan family's response was about to come. After all, they couldn't wait forever. But what surprised her was that her second brother came to visit her. I'm thinking about when our eldest brother will be free. Baizhu stretched and sighed. Let's go, Baizhu said. Go where? Baizhu was puzzled. You were asking when our eldest brother would be free, right? Well, he is now. Baizhu smiled. Now? Baizhu perked up. After a short while, the two of them walked out of the courtyard together. Where's Auntie Qiao? Baizhu asked. She went to buy some snacks for me. It is a bit far, so it will take her some time to come back, Baizhu said softly. Sister, you're really brave. I heard that the other princesses are eyeing you and planning to bully you, said Baizhu with a smile. The imperial palace was vast and magnificent. The path was lined with blooming flowers, and the trees were neatly arranged. A faint floral fragrance wafted up and refreshed the senses. This place still smells so nice, said Baizhu with a smile. It's been a long time since you've been here, hasn't it? Baizhu looked around and whispered, You've been away from the imperial city for years. Even when you come back, you just stay in your own residence. That's right. I worry that people will make fun of me when I come out. What if I get angry and they suffer? I might draw circles at night to curse them, said Baizhu jokingly. Baizhu ignored it. They talked and laughed along the way and occasionally saw some women along the way. They were beautiful. Most of them were young princesses, and they seemed surprised when they saw Baizhu as if they were looking at something elusive and rare. Everyone stole glances at her. The bold ones would come over and greet them. Royal brother, royal sister, greeting. Then they asked about their age and were stunned to look at a princess who was over 300 years old. After a long time, Baizhu entered a large courtyard and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. This was why she didn't want to leave the palace. Some princesses were genuinely curious, while others wanted to ridicule her. It was not a pleasant experience. Out of sight, out of mind. Come in. A deep voice came from the courtyard. Baizhu looked inside but didn't see anyone. Eldest brother has already entered the return to Void Realm. We can hear his voice but we can't see his figure. Baizhu smiled. Come on, let's go in. Will you also reach this realm soon? Baizhu asked. It's probably impossible for me. Although we, the royal family, live a long time, talent is not determined by age. Baizhu sounded regretful. It's a pity that our royal family hasn't produced a stunning genius. There is. Baizhu pointed at herself. Right here. Baizhu laughed and led the way ahead. After a while, they saw their eldest brother by a pond. He looked like a man in his 30s with no visible aura on his body. He wore a gray robe. Big brother, said Baizhu. Big brother. Baizhu followed suit. At this moment, Baizhu turned around. His features were distinct and his eyes were deep. He exuded a majestic aura. It's been many years since I last saw you. Baizhu, you're already at the primordial spirit realm. What about you, Baizhu? He asked with a gentle smile. Baizhu chuckled. Big brother, stop making fun of Baizhu. Otherwise, she'll say she's the first genius of the royal family and her realm is unfathomable. Baizhu was speechless. Bai Qin laughed and looked at his sister. I heard you've been in contact with the Shangguan family? Yeah. I asked for some things, she said. Yeah, it's good to make contacts. Bai Qin nodded. If you encounter any trouble, you can come to me. Perhaps we are not stronger than others, but we are not afraid of them. Baizhu nodded and promised to do so. In fact, she hadn't been here before and she didn't have any trouble. Here, take this. Bai Qin then handed over 2 blood jade pendants. When there's danger, I'll sense it. If I'm not held back, I'll come and help you. Also, the palace may not be very stable lately, so don't wander around. Bai Zhu nodded with a sunny smile. The next day, at Bai Zhu's house, General Lin visited her with 3 items. One was the Spear of Curses she had requested. Another was a book from overseas titled Travels in the Heavenly River, and a 6-sided die from the East. A replica? Bai Zhu noticed that the 6-sided dice was a replica, but even so, she felt it shouldn't be used carelessly. Overall, these gifts were not sincere enough, but General Lin insisted. So, Bai Zhu had no choice but to cooperate and accept these items. Then, she decided that in 2 days she would enter the ancestral land with the heir of the Shangguan family. In early July, Jiang Hao stood in front of a sea fog in the sea fog cave. He looked ahead and waited for something to change. Aja stood beside him. He was curious about this human. Human, how do you behave as a person? How do I behave as a person? I think a person like you won't be harassed or exploited. Why not? Many things are beyond one's control. Jiang Hao shook his head. He wanted to leave this place, but it was not suitable to leave without a proper reason. He had to do things till he remained in the Heavenly Note sect. So, what does it take to not be harassed or bullied? Aja was curious. What do you think? Jiang Hao asked. Aja thought for a moment. Do whatever you want to do. Jiang Hao shook his head. Ideally, yes. But sometimes you have to do things even if you don't want to. Aja was puzzled. It suddenly paused. They're here. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hao closed his eyes and began to sense the sea fog. The nameless manual guided him. He could sense subtle movement from the sea fog. The waves were coming. Without hesitation, he found Jing Shurjiu and the others. Please have everyone pack up. We need to leave this place quickly, said Jiang. Oh. The crowd was stunned. Yu was about to ask, but Jing Shurjiu and Xan Yue began to make arrangements immediately. Xiao Xiaowei and the others were also surprised by this. They hadn't received any evacuation orders. It wasn't until Aja spoke that they found out the sea fog cave was about to create waves. Chapter 522. This is the real me, a super genius. Human, why are you leaving? It's dangerous in the sea fog when the waves are forming. Even I may not find the right direction, Aja said as she walked ahead of Jiang Hao in the sea fog. In fact, it wasn't just Aja. Many people didn't understand. They felt Jiang Hao was a bit delusional. If there were waves coming, it would be safer to stay in place. There were treasures and defenses set up in the area. Wasn't it better than running around in the sea mist? Jiang Hao didn't explain to those who questioned him. He wasn't forcing them to leave. On the contrary, he preferred acting alone. It's just that he didn't want them to be in danger because he was in charge. This wave was extraordinary. The royal family, the sacred bandits, the Heavenly Note sect, and powerful individuals from overseas were all involved. After what the sacred bandits had been planning for a long time, he didn't believe that the people on the periphery would be safe. So even if they were punished, it wouldn't matter. They just didn't know if they would make it in time. The sea fog seemed to be changing. They needed to leave quickly. However, it wasn't that easy. Aja seemed to have lost its way. What's going on? Why can't I find the direction? It seems to be getting blurry, Aja said. Even you can't find the way, senior? Jing Shurjiu was surprised. It's not that easy, Aja said. The others were a bit worried, and some even said it would be better to stay in the stronghold. At least they could try to defend themselves. Now in the sea fog they couldn't even see the way. It was like waiting for death to come. The others could only agree. Jiang Hao lowered his head. He hadn't seen much with the technique from the nameless manual, so he couldn't find the way, especially with so many forks in the road. In the imperial city the moon was bright. The wedding ceremony had already begun, and Bai Zhu sat in a corner. She still hadn't seen Shangguan Hengyu, but the first group of people was about to enter the ancestral ground, so he should be coming soon. Princess, do you really want to go into the ancestral ground with the Crown Prince Shangguan? Andy Qiao was a bit worried. It's just to take a look. Speaking of which, I haven't been there before, so let's take a look, Bai Zhu said with a smile. Aren't you afraid of getting married for real? Andy Qiao asked. What if they break the engagement on the other side? Given his personality, he could do something like that, Bai Zhu said without concern. Andy Qiao felt that the princess had already thought of a way to make the other person break the engagement. That would mean she would escape the marriage but still would receive the gifts she had asked for. If everything went smoothly, she felt the princess would gain a lot. But she didn't know if it would cause trouble. At that moment, a young man walked over to Baizhu. "Princess Baizhu?" he asked with a smile. "That's me." Baizhu nodded. "Shangguan Hengyu?" "Yes." "Are you the one who cried and wanted to go into the ancestral ground with me?" Shangguan Hengyu said disdainfully. He was dressed in magnificent clothes and had an extraordinary appearance. "Have I disappointed you? Then it's fine. Let's not go." Baizhu looked at him. "I was just joking." Shangguan Hengyu snorted coldly and didn't speak again. After that, they planned to go to their ancestral land. Before entering, Qiao Yi informed Baizhu that the prince was in the Golden Core Realm and that she should be careful. Golden Core Realm? Baizhu smiled. He was not at the Golden Core Realm for real. He was only slightly weaker than her brother. The Shangguan family kept their real cultivation realm hidden. The ancestral land was deep within the imperial city. They were led by the guards and walked into the ancestral land. Here they could receive the blessing of the land, but what exactly the blessing was, few people could perceive it. But every royal family member upon marriage had to come here once. They could only enter once. So, if they didn't intend to marry for real, not many people would visit the place. After entering the gate of the ancestral land, Shangguan Hengyu seemed to relax. "Princess, I didn't expect you to be over 300 years old and still look so young. Do you like older women?" Baizhu looked at the person beside her. "Not really. I was just marveling at how well you are dressed." Shangguan Hengyu shook his head and walked ahead. He seemed to have his own purpose for this trip. Baizhu followed behind him and didn't care. She just let him go wherever he wanted. "Maybe it's my natural beauty," said Baizhu. "Princess, do you think it was right to choose to come to the ancestral land right now?" Shangguan Hengyu looked serious. He didn't look frivolous and flighty like before. "It certainly doesn't feel wrong," Baizhu said. "Do you think you are a bit naive and getting older and less knowledgeable?" Shangguan Hengyu asked while preparing something in an open space. "You are the same as the rumors made you out to be. Young with little to no experience." By now the formation had been set up and everything was ready. The moon was in the sky. The moonlight shone on the formation and activated it. "That's true." Baizhu nodded. "Princess, you are as naive as they say. You must be getting older, Shangguan." Hengyu said and gestured to her. "Can you stand inside?" "Of course." Baizhu nodded. She stepped into the formation. She looked unconcerned. "I heard you like to talk big. What kind of big things do you say?" Shangguan Hengyu asked while activating the formation. By now the formation was fully activated, and a light enveloped Baizhu. Gradually something eroded her body. "I often tell Auntie Qiao that I am the first genius of the royal family and unparalleled throughout history. Standing at the pinnacle of the royal family, I'm only slightly inferior to the astonishing geniuses." Baizhu shrugged. "But Auntie Qiao just laughs at me and so does my second brother. Although my eldest brother doesn't speak, I'm sure he's laughing inside too." "That's indeed quite amusing." Shangguan Hengyu nodded. Then he looked at the young girl in front of him. "Do you have any last words?" "Last words?" Baizhu tilted her head in confusion. "I'm fine and dandy. Why would I need to say my last words?" "That's a pity." Shangguan Hengyu sighed. Then he cast his technique, and the fortune of the royal family began to be corroded. A formation appeared under his feet. But he felt uncomfortable. Then, without any warning, the flesh of his arm began to rot. "What's going on?" The sudden change shocked him. "A curse. Haven't you encountered it before?" Baizhu stood in the center of the formation. "A curse." Shangguan Hengyu's face changed and he immediately tried to channel his power to counter it, but it had no effect. "How is this possible? How can a mere curse be impossible to dispel?" he exclaimed. "A mere curse." Baizhu gave him a charming smile. "This is not just a mere curse. It's the curse on my body. According to your words, you're just an early-stage return to Void Realm cultivator. How can you withstand the curse on my body?" Shangguan Hengyu was horrified to find that his flesh and blood were also decaying, and his cultivation was crumbling. He panicked. He gritted his teeth as he looked at the young girl in front of him. "What do you mean?" Baizhu shrugged. "Didn't I just tell you? I am the first genius of the royal family and am unparalleled throughout history. The entire imperial city can't even match my strength. This is the real me. It's just that no one believes me." Chapter 523, Beyond Saving. At the ancestral land of the royal family, a young woman stood in a brightly lit array of magic. A man stood opposite her. The array under his feet gradually darkened. It seemed like something was being transferred from his body. But this simple transfer was enough to make his flesh rot, his cultivation collapse, and his life wither. He looked at the young woman in front of him in disbelief. What? How does no one know about this? Shengguan Hengyu was filled with questions. They had been paying attention to the royal family for so many years, and even the Saint Bandits had confirmed it. Why had no one discovered this person's strength? Perhaps because you were overconfident? After all, when I told you just now, you were so full of yourself. Baizhu smiled. At this point, the curses on her body were rapidly leaving her and merging into the array. These curses were being transferred through Shengguan Hengyu to an unknown location. Baizhu had some speculation about this. It must be going to the Sea Fog Cave of the Heavenly Note sect. The other side of the array would also bear her curse, but that was no longer. Shengguan Hengyu smiled bitterly. The flesh on his body was decaying, and this decaying flesh kept falling off. He was filled with regret. I didn't expect that I actually picked someone who could ruin everything for me. Actually, you didn't pick me, Baizhu said. It was I who picked you. You cooperated with the Saint Bandits because you wanted to become the next royal family and coveted the blessing of the land. I couldn't turn a blind eye to that. So, as one of the key figures involved in this, you naturally caught my attention. At that point, Shengguan Hengyu's body was disintegrating, and he couldn't make a sound anymore. He could only stare at the young woman in front of him in fear and confusion. When had he exposed himself? I should actually thank you. This array is a bit unique. It can transfer all the curses out of my body. It allowed me to successfully reach where I intended. Baizhu took a step in the air as if stepping on an endless platform. She looked up at the sky. The sky is even broader now, and I have the qualifications to touch the limit. Then a new curse appeared on her. This time it no longer affected her. It was as if she had the natural talent to avoid it. Shengguan Hengyu watched Baizhu in disbelief. He didn't know what realm she was in. His cultivation realm and energy dissipated and finally turned into dry bones and became part of the earth. Boom. In the distance there was a rumble. Someone shouted in anger. Baizhu knew that the conflict had begun, but she planned to observe secretly and only intervene if necessary. She didn't want to stay in the imperial city, but she had to wait until her lifespan was extended. Shaking her head with a smile, she headed deeper into the ancestral land. As she left, all traces gradually disappeared, as if she had never existed in the first place. Deep inside the sea fog cave, the sea fog was constantly churning. Some tentacles appeared in the sea fog, but they were hard to see clearly. In the shadows there was an altar in operation. The man who arranged the personnel earlier was maintaining it. He was waiting for the arrival of the royal family's fortune from the other side. Tong Tian, be careful, Yi Jian reminded him. He had made many preparations. Everything was ready. I know. Tong Tian nodded and looked into the distance. The people from the Heavenly Note sector coming. Once we start they will find us. You should be careful. Yi Jian looked outside and sighed. They had arrived. Unfortunately, he needed quite a bit of time to restore his peak strength. At this moment, a trace of the royal family's fortune appeared on the altar. Tong Tian was overjoyed. Finally they were going to succeed. But soon he frowned. Yi Jian furrowed his brows in confusion. What happened? Tong Tian remained calm and then said, sever the connection between me and the other altars, all altars related to Shengguan Hengyu. Yi Jian immediately severed all connections related to Shengguan Hengyu, and then looked at Tong Tian. What's happening to you? I'm beyond saving. Tong Tian's voice was calm as if he was talking about someone else's matter. At this moment he was still letting the array absorb things from the other side and separating the fortune from the curse on the way. The fortune condensed into a bead, and the curse stayed on him. If I regain some cultivation maybe I can avoid this disaster, but unfortunately the other side is too strong, Tong Tian calmly said. Black fumes appeared on his skin. However, in the next breath the black spots started decaying. His cultivation was also crumbling. Tong Tian did not show anger or pain. On the contrary, relief showed on his face. This is also good. I can go and do my own things now. Tong Tian turned to Yi Jian. Something has happened in the imperial city, and it's something unexpected. but the consequences are now your concern. Now, I want to do one last thing. Yi Jian looked at his friend and hesitated. Let me take you back. Perhaps there's still hope. With my cultivation and artifacts, I can buy you enough time. Tong Tian smiled and shook his head. No need. It's fine. This is enough. Tong Lu is dead and I need to do something for him. Even if I can go back alive, it's not what I wish for. Yi Jian lowered his head and remained silent. Tong Tian staggered down from the altar and then placed some treasures on it. He was about to die, so he left all his useful things for his friend. Finally, he walked into the sea fog and disappeared. Yi Jian was silent for a moment, but he had to continue with the plan. The Heavenly Note sect was an enemy they had to face. Their plan had reached this point, and they were no longer worried about being discovered. Countless tentacles emerged behind him. They bore many runes. Then they charged outward. It wasn't just him. In every passage, tentacles appeared. It seemed as if they wanted to engulf all life in the sea fog cave to provide power for their plan. Shengguan Hengyu's failure was a significant blow to them, but this was not the entirety of their plan. Outside the sea fog cave, Jiang Hao led the way and the sea fog kept rushing in. Even Aja found it difficult to find the path. Fortunately, they did not backtrack. If it weren't for the sea patrol spirit beast guiding the way, they would have been lost in this fog. The beast was indeed very accurate in finding the way. How are you doing, Senior? Jiang Hao asked in a low voice. He felt danger everywhere. Others seemed unconcerned as if they didn't think much of the tide. Aja had said that the fog wasn't something to worry about. They all felt Jiang Hao had made the wrong decision. Xiao Xiaowei and the bald golden core realm cultivator also felt this way, but they didn't know the strength of the other side, so they couldn't say much. How about we turn back? Asked a Foundation establishment cultivator suddenly. I asked the Sea Patrol spirit beasts, and they confirmed that turning back will surely take us back to the base. Chapter 524. Junior brother is always kind to others. Walking in the sea fog was unsettling. Some people wanted to go back and continue staying at the base. Yeah. Going back the way we came would be much quicker, said someone. Things were getting noisy as more people chimed in. Zheng Shurjiu wanted to dissuade them, but Jiang Hao stopped him. He let everyone choose for themselves. It was not his choice. He would let everyone make their own decision. Some people chose to leave. They asked Jiang Hao about the ores in the mines. Jiang Hao told them they could have it. They were even more excited to go back. Some people looked at the few golden core realm cultivators. If there was a golden core realm cultivator among them, they would follow. However, Xiao Xiaowei and the bald cultivator hesitated for a long time and eventually gave up. They had faced Jiang Hao's threat earlier and were afraid of retaliation. They sought refuge in stronger individuals. In the end, only some of the people left. Most of them lacked confidence and were afraid of making the wrong choice. So, it was better to follow the strong. If you want to leave, you can leave now. Don't blame me for being heartless if you can't leave later. Zheng Shurjiu looked at the people around coldly. There was no response. Jiang Hao didn't mind. He would fulfill his responsibilities. Beyond that, they weren't his concern. They weren't children after all. They could make their own choices. As long as it didn't affect his safety, he didn't need to care. Aja, lead the way, Jiang Hao said. The others could only follow. Among the people who stayed behind, most just went with the flow, but some had stayed behind because they trusted Jiang Hao's judgment. In the end, these people discovered that the manager didn't intervene when others went away and felt a bit regretful. If they had left earlier, they could have gone back to mine and obtained a lot of spirit stones. In the fog, everyone felt insecure, as if danger could strike at any moment. Zheng Shurjiu and Xian Yue, on the other hand, had confidence in Jiang Hao. They had worked together many times and knew him. Xiao Xiaowei and the others were uneasy. The sea fog was becoming more intense. If it got any denser, they might lose their way entirely. However, since things had come to this point, they could only grit their teeth and continue ahead. After a while, the sea fog started to churn. Their field of vision and their perception shrank. Aja didn't dare to point in a random direction. The people who went back might have already reached the base, someone said softly. Jiang Hao stopped. He looked in a certain direction with a frown. Senior, look over there. Aja turned to look. A little while later, Aja's face changed. Oh no. How did these monsters end up here? We're done for. Hurry. Run. Aja exclaimed in panic. The others were confused. Aja wanted to escape alone but was grabbed by Jiang Hao. Senior, stay calm. Running randomly will be dangerous. Find a way out of the sea fog cave, Jiang Hao said. Aja felt immense pressure. It hadn't expected these things to appear. They had never come out during previous surges. This also confirmed that it should learn from these humans in the future. Boom. As the sea fog closed, the tentacles began to attack. Jiang Hao unsheathed his half-moon blade and used the demonic sound slash. Boom. The blade flashed and temporarily dispersed some of the sea fog. Thus, the thing underneath the sea fog was revealed. Countless tentacles were swiftly rushing toward them. The frontmost tentacle had some blood stains on it, and it even held some more. It even held onto some severed human limbs. Blood was dripping from the severed parts. Jiang Hao knew that those who had just left were in great danger. The people behind him turned pale in shock. They saw the oars, which meant they felt lucky to have followed Jiang Hao instead of going back. Senior Aja, find a way out quickly. Someone begged in fear. We can't go the wrong way. If we do, we'll be attacked from behind, Jiang Hao said. Aja felt stressed. It hadn't expected these things to come out. They had never done so before. Boom. As the sea fog closed, the tentacles began their assault. Jiang Hao slashed with his half-moon blade. The tentacles were cut off. But soon new tentacles continued their attack. The strength of the late Foundation establishment stage, said Jiang Hao. Shao Wei and the others were overjoyed. If it was only at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, they could hold their own, especially with their 4 golden core realm cultivators. Boom. Boom. They fought for a while and retreated. Even with 4 golden core realm cultivators, they couldn't stop the Foundation establishment realm tentacles. Some of them were injured. As time passed, the strength of these tentacles increased. They were almost at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. Jiang Hao frowned. If they continued like this, these people would all die. He couldn't go ahead alone. Moreover, without Aja, it was unlikely that he could find his way. He would have to use his golden rings to go back. Boom. The tentacle attacks were relentless. Even a golden core realm cultivator couldn't escape unscathed. Only Jiang Hao, who had studied the Nameless Manual and could finally control his power, could handle it with ease. The bald golden core realm cultivator tried to beat back the tentacles with his blade. However, the more he fought, the more he was surrounded by numerous tentacles. When he came to his senses, he found himself completely surrounded by the tentacles. They were surging toward him. Even when he defeated a part of them, it was futile because new tentacles replaced them instantly. These tentacles were shifting toward the gold core realm cultivator gradually. At that point he had no way to retreat. He began to panic. Although he had escaped to this point, he was now in a dire situation because of his impulsiveness. He opened his mouth, attempting to plead for help. But who would come to save him at this moment? Everyone was selfish. When others were in crisis, they would not rush to help them at the expense of their own lives. He should have understood this earlier, but he opened his mouth to ask for help. Just then a blade flashed. 1,000 demonic tones. Boom. The demonic sound roared as the blade cut through everything. The bald golden core realm cultivator, who was initially surrounded by tentacles, looked in disbelief as the blade approached. He was even more surprised at the person who wielded that blade. He felt that he might as well devote his loyalty to this person. Jiang Hao grabbed the person's hand and pulled him out. Then he swung the primordial heavenly blade. The intensity is approaching the golden core realm, Zheng Shurjiu said wearily. There were simply too many tentacles and they couldn't stop them all. Jiang Hao realized that if they continued, everyone else would undoubtedly die. He looked at the people around him and fell silent for a moment. Everyone was afraid that Jiang Hao would leave them there and go off alone. Evidently, their manager was very strong, and his sense of perception was exceptional. If he left, he could obviously survive. Others would have no way of escape. At that moment, they understood that Jiang Hao's choice would decide their life and their death. You all go first, Jiang Hao said calmly. Everyone was incredulous to hear those words. In truth, Zheng Shurjiu had already planned to tell Jiang Hao to escape while he could and that there was no need for him to take them along. However, Jiang Hao was telling them to escape first. It is no wonder the people in the sect doubt him of practicing the blood wish path because junior brother Jiang is always kind to others. Zheng Shurjiu was shaken to his core. Chapter 525, Stronger When No One's Around. I'll stay, said the bald golden core realm cultivator. Jiang Hao was speechless. He looked over and saw him standing resolutely beside him with a determination to face death. The others were also ignited with a fiery passion. They wanted to stay and fight the enemy alongside him. Jiang Hao swung the half-moon blade in his hand. The hilt struck the bald man's neck, and the force invaded his body and knocked him unconscious. The sudden action left others shocked. Senior brother Zheng, I'll have to trouble you again. Jiang Hao looked at Zheng Shizhou. All right, junior brother Jiang. Be careful, Zheng Shizhou said solemnly. He knew that Jiang Hao wouldn't easily get into trouble, especially when he was alone. Jiang Hao was at his strongest when he was alone. If they stayed behind, they would only hold him back. However, he didn't know Jiang Hao's limits. The only thing he could do was not get in his way. So, Zheng Shizhou retreated with the others. Everyone else could only follow his orders. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he was alone. If it were possible, he would have left with everyone. That way it wouldn't attract attention. But the tentacle attacked so fiercely that retreating together wasn't the best choice. He could only stand alone against the danger and let the others leave first. With people around him, he couldn't do what he wanted. Now that no one was around him, he could use his techniques freely. He had a way. If there was no other choice, he could even use the life-saving magic weapon his master had given him. He could escape from here using the spatial power of the magic weapon. But there was a problem. It seemed that he was being targeted by someone. That was why he had to act alone. It seemed that someone was closely watching him and would appear at any sign of movement. The tentacles began to swarm. He used the second form of the heavenly blade, mountain suppression. Powerful blade intent covered the surroundings and suppressed the frontmost tentacles. After that, Jiang Hao felt the changes in the surrounding sea fog and sensed the tentacles' attacks. No tentacle crossed the line. Blades flashed and swept in all directions. Countless tentacles were cut off and turned into bubbles. The tentacles couldn't escape Jiang Hao's blade. At this moment, Jiang Hao had absolute power. He used the heavenly cauldron to lure and trap the tentacles in the divine domain. Unfortunately, the divine domain was broken because the tentacles were too long. But as time passed, the frequency of the tentacle attacks began to decrease. Finally, they retracted. However, Jiang Hao did not let his guard down. He felt that this was just the beginning of the danger he had to face. The person who was keeping an eye on him seemed to have arrived. He couldn't determine the newcomer's strength. It made him wary. Who could it be? Brother? Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. The surrounding sea fog no longer blocked his vision. A child of about 4 or 5 years old stood in front of him in ragged clothes. The child looked around in panic and shouted, "Brother! Where are you?" Tears fell from the child's eyes. The child looked frightened. At that moment, another voice came from the other side. "Xiaolu, where are you?" The child immediately looked around. Then he saw a teenager in his early teens, dark complexion, and weak in spirit and blood, as if he had been hungry for a long time. The child ran over to the teen and hugged him. "Brother, I thought you were going out like mom and dad," said the child in tears. "That'll never happen," said the young man as he wiped the child's tears and patted his head. "When will mom and dad come back?" the child asked. "They'll be back in a few days. I brought you some food." The young man took out a piece of sesame seed cake. "What about you?" "I'm not hungry. I already ate." "Why don't people in the clan like us?" The young man smiled but did not answer. The scene shifted. The child stole a piece of meat from a place and then managed to escape while being chased. Finally, he ran to his brother excitedly. "Brother, there's meat." The young man was surprised. "Where did you get it?" "You eat it? I'll tell you after you finish eating it." Jiang Hao looked at the two brothers and frowned. At the same time, a man came from the opposite direction. He had many dark spots on his body. His breath was ragged. He was cursed. The two boys disappeared and the sea fog emerged. At that moment, Jiang Hao could only rely on the nameless manual to sense the other person's presence. "We depended on each other since childhood. Xiaolu was all grown up, but he died by your hands," said a voice. "Are you indignant?" Jiang Hao understood that the person in question was probably Tong Lu. He remained calm, but his body was accumulating strength. "As you grow up, many people will want to kill you and you will also kill many people. Isn't that right?" "Yes. We've killed many people too." Tong Tian sighed. Even if it wasn't you, Xiao Lu would have died at someone else's hands in the future. But we're brothers. Now that he has died at your hands, I need to do something. Even if I die, I'll need to answer to him. At least, I can tell him that I did my best. Swish. Jiang Hao saw a figure breaking through the sea fog at an impossible speed. Boom. He defended with the blade and activated the immortal mountain sea shield immediately. However, even so, the powerful force sent Jiang Hao flying back. He felt the wail of his blade. His blade had cracked. So strong. In an instant, the immortal mountain sea shield was activated to defend him. But even so, his internal organs were injured. The revival of withered wood ability began to activate automatically. Many thoughts went through his mind in an instant. When he landed, he quickly moved forward and attacked. He couldn't determine the other party's strength, so he didn't dare to hold back. He unsheathed the primordial heavenly blade and activated the reappearance of the hidden spirit. He used the third form of the heavenly blade, Meteor. Jiang Hao's figure whizzed like a meteor and collided with the opponent. However, Tong Tian blocked the heavenly blade with his bare hands. Boom. They moved like shooting stars that rapidly disappeared and reappeared. Their power and aura swept the surroundings. Stones from the walls of the passage kept falling. Boom. The heavenly blade clashed with the opponent's fist, and Jiang Hao was once again forced back. Even with the immortal mountain sea shield support, he couldn't withstand the opponent's attacks. Without hesitation, Jiang Hao attacked once again. The heavenly cauldron was activated. Jiang Hao wanted to pull the opponent into his divine domain. That would give him an advantage. Tong Tian's body was already covered in black spots. He looked at the man in front of him and felt uneasy. Late stage of the soul ascension realm? It was entirely reasonable for Tong Lu, who was also in the late stage of the soul ascension realm, to die at the hands of this man. That last blade technique was more than enough. I can't hold on for much longer. I need to finish this quickly. Tong Tian knew that his cultivation was rapidly declining, and he would die in no time. If the opponent didn't have any more tricks up his sleeve, then he might have a chance. Chapter 526. Tell him that we'll meet again. The sea fog surged like dark currents in the deep sea. Jiang Hao's clash with Tong Tian was relentless. Their fight barely gave them time to catch their breaths. However, even with such intense attacks, they were unable to break through the sea fog. It was evident that the sea fog had reached an unimaginable height. Continuing to stay here would undoubtedly be dangerous. The heavenly blade flashed, and Jiang Hao severed Tong Tian's arm with a single strike. In return, Tong Tian kicked and shattered Jiang Hao's thigh. Despite the pain, their attacks were unwavering. Boom. The brilliance of their strength clashed, and their figures constantly changed as they exchanged strikes with blades and swords. However, as they fought, Jiang Hao stood in place and blocked the opponent's attacks. The heavenly blade swung in front of him and cut down all attacks. Tong Tian was incredibly fast. Even with only one arm, he had the strength to break through any defense. But after a moment, he found a flaw in Jiang Hao. He threw a punch. It was like a vast sky striking down. If it had landed, Jiang Hao would have been gravely injured. However, what surprised him was Jiang Hao's calm gaze. Is he falling into my trap? What can he use to defend himself? Tong Tan was doubtful. He had no choice but to keep attacking. Boom. The force shook everything. In an instant, a heavy shield blocked his fist. However, his strength carried a resolute intent and left no room for retreat. Crack. The shield shattered. As he attempted to move forward again, a long blade stabbed into him. A strange force corroded his body and disrupted his balance, and the curse's power erupted at this moment. The once mighty fist landed on Jiang Hao's shoulder like cotton. At this point, Jiang Hao thought he had won. To his surprise, Tong Tian smiled. You've lost. Jiang Hao frowned. He sensed the presence of the curse. Without hesitation, he activated the purple energy. However, a tidal wave of black energy erupted from Tong Tian's body and enveloped him entirely. Even though the purple energy could resist some of it, it couldn't stop all the curses. In an instant, the curse entered Jiang Hao's body. The Hongmeng Heart Sutra started to circulate and attempted to suppress the curse. However, the curse was unusually massive. For a moment he thought he couldn't suppress it. It's useless. Tong Tian sighed as his arm went limp. This isn't an ordinary curse. Even if your cultivation realm matches the caster's, it's difficult to resist it. It will destroy one's vitality and erode one's cultivation realm. The moment I sensed it, I knew I was beyond redemption. But it's okay. It allowed me to come find you and fulfill Tong Lu's last wish. Jiang Hao retracted the heavenly blade. As members of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe and Saint Bandits, why did you want to seize the royal fortune and the blessings of the land? You seem to know quite a bit. Tong Tian signed again. For the depths. The depths. Jiang Hao asked as he let the spots appear on his body. The source of everything, Tong Tian said. The person who wrote about the Heaven Lock technique? Jiang Hao asked again. Tong Tian was astonished. How do you know about Heaven Lock? Did you discover it? Recently, the Heaven Lock had appeared in the world, but they couldn't figure out who had discovered it. Is there a limitation to the Heaven Lock technique? Jiang Hao asked. How is it possible that you were able to see it? Tong Tian was shocked. The content of Heaven Lock wasn't something anyone could easily see. Heaven Lock was mind-boggling, and even the heavens and the earth shrouded its content. Even a soul ascension realm cultivator, no matter how special, couldn't see it. Jiang Hao remembered the figure he had sensed beside him. It seemed that he could make sense of the technique only because that figure had been present. Without him, he couldn't see it. Tong Tian smiled helplessly. Forget it. We're both dying. What's the use of being so special? Jiang Hao sighed. He realized he couldn't hold on much longer. Otherwise the curse would really hurt him. In the blink of an eye, a pearl appeared in his hand. In an instant, all the curses in his body subsided. Tong Tian was stunned. When he met Jiang Hao, he felt it was extremely difficult to kill him, especially with the curse constantly eroding his strength. So he decided to use the curse to kill him. But he never expected that the curse would be quelled by the opponent. Tong Tian saw a crimson pearl inside the purple sphere. It looked familiar. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl? He was shocked. Tong Tian smiled weakly. This is the first time I've seen someone holding the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. We didn't die in vain. Jiang Hao said nothing. Did Xiao Lu suffer before his death? Tong Tian asked. He used something to self-destruct. He wanted to take me down with him, Jiang Hao said. Is that so? That's good. I hope he won't blame his useless elder brother. Tong Tian felt his eyelids growing heavy and slowly closed his eyes. At the moment of his passing, he seemed to hear Tong Lu's annoyed voice. Brother, why did you come here too? You're making me angry. Tong Tian smiled weakly and murmured, Brother is here to accompany you. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Hao saw the opponent turn into bones and then disappear completely. Jiang Hao also breathed a sigh of relief. Dealing with the curse was troublesome. Now how could he get out of here? He couldn't let go of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. Once it left his hand, the misfortune would erupt. If he went out now, there would undoubtedly be strong opponents waiting for him. If the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was targeted, the problem would become more serious. I need to find another way to suppress the curse. It's also troublesome to get out of here. Without Aja, it was not easy to get out of the place. After hesitating for a moment, he walked to the place where Tong Tian had disappeared. He wanted to see how his opponent had found this place. Was it because of the magic treasure or something else? Unfortunately, he found nothing and had to find a way out on his own using the nameless manual. As for the curse, Jiang Hao took out the sea god pill that Hong Yuya had given him. This pill not only healed injuries but also dispelled curses. If he was correct, the curse on his body was from Gue. He didn't know if the sea god pill could completely dispel it. And it felt a waste to use it here. In the depths of the sea fog cave, Insha and the others were being chased by tentacles. There were originally 9 of them in the group, but only 3 remained. It seems like we're constantly going in circles, a male cultivator said. Insha knew that too, but there was no way out. Look over there. Another cultivator pointed into the distance. At this moment, they noticed the sea fog disperse and reveal a passage. The 3 were surprised. After a moment of hesitation, they headed in that direction. It was like entering a completely new space. This was a cave. Above the cave was a strange symbol that was difficult to discern. What kind of place is this? The 3 were puzzled. A place that can take you out of here, said a calm voice. The 3 were startled. They discovered a figure standing deep in the cave. The figure was faint and indistinct. It wasn't easy to see clearly. Who are you, senior? Insha asked warily. Do you want to leave? The figure asked. Do you have a way, senior? Insha asked again. The figure. She remembered Jiang Hao's reminder. Help me with something and I'll help you get out of here. It's a simple task. Without waiting for Yinsha and the others to ask, the figure tossed a stone at them. Take this thing and give it to him. Then tell him that we'll meet again. Thank him for his praise. Since the appearance of Heaven Lock, only he has praised me, and it seems that only he has understood my discovery. Chapter 527, A Fool. At the Sea Fog Cave, Jiang Hao walked through the passage. His injuries had now completely healed, and he was in even better shape than before. The effect of the Sea God pill far exceeded his expectations. It was almost unbelievable. The curse was dispelled easily. Not even a trace remained on his body. The injuries on his body were visibly healing at a rapid pace. His primordial spirit was condensing, and the power of his divine abilities and techniques was once again enhanced. The immortal mountain sea shield had also been restored to its original state. He felt the terrifying nature of the divine pill for the first time. When he first consumed the scarlet feather divine pill, he didn't experience any reaction, so he thought that divine pills were just like that. Now he realized that he had wasted the sea god pill. It was truly invaluable. Shaking his head, he decided to figure a way out of there first. He was unfamiliar with the route and he had to find his way on his own. Even with the nameless manual's assistance, finding an exit was still quite challenging. Fortunately, he thought of a way. He let one of the tentacles lead the way. If he wasn't noticed, he could follow the tentacles and find his way. It was going smoothly. However, in order to maintain an appearance of slow progress, he occasionally severed the tentacles and obstructed them. When the time was right, he would let the tentacles lead the way again. Boom. As he walked along the path, he heard a loud rumbling sound followed by the surging of sea fog waves. There was a powerful aura inside. It seems like a big battle is erupting inside. I wonder how it will turn out. Logically, there should be reinforcements soon, but he didn't see any along his route. Fortunately, besides the initial encounter with Tong Tian, no one else chased him. After a long time, Jiang Hao finally saw signs of people. In the huge passage, many people were retreating while fighting. Each person had some injuries and some were directly swallowed by the tentacles. Jiang Hao took out his half-moon blade and joined the battle. Sorry about this. Jiang Hao looked at the nearly shattered blade inside. He had been using it for quite a while and it was indeed time for a replacement. However, top-grade treasures like golden core level blades were quite expensive. With Jiang Hao joining the fray, the pressure on these people greatly decreased, but they didn't know that someone was helping them. They couldn't perceive that someone had joined the battle inside the sea fog. They only felt that the tentacles had weakened. Stay focused. The attacks are weakening. If we get through this section, we'll be able to get out. Hold on. Others shouted and began to exert their full strength. However, the person who boosted their morale took the opportunity to escape. It seemed like he wanted the others to help block the tentacles for him. In Jiang Hao's perception, he could see that 8 or 9 people had escaped. Only fools would stay at the forefront. Jiang Hao felt that he was indeed a fool. In order to avoid attention, he had no choice but to retreat with the rest of the group. Even with his participation, many people still died. He could only save those he could, and fortunately these people were not very clever. Even if he saved them, it wouldn't bring him much trouble. Outside the sea fog, powerful individuals entered. They were at least in the primordial spirit realm. Zheng Shurjiu and the others stood at the edge of the sea fog and looked inside. With Aja's efforts they managed to get out. But Jiang Hao still hadn't come out. Although they had looked for him several times, they hadn't seen him come out at all. They didn't know what had happened. The bald golden core realm cultivator lowered his head. This experience had made him suddenly understand something. There were still good people in this world. Or rather, he felt the brilliance of humanity for the first time, and this light emanated from Jiang Hao. Not only did he risk his life to save others in danger, but he also forcibly saved him when he was about to die together with him. In the many years of his cultivation, he had encountered many people, and everyone seemed to be filled with selfishness. The suffering and darkness he had endured since he started cultivating constantly reminded him of how terrifying human nature could be. In this world, no one would save him. Only self-preservation mattered. But Jiang Hao was different. He had challenged the Golden Core Realm cultivator's beliefs. In the eyes of some, Jiang Hao was complex, but mostly he was a kind person. Jiang Hao's death wouldn't affect them much. At most, they would think of him once in a while. After all, they were still alive. At that moment, Jing Shurjiu and the others saw someone rushing out. It seemed that this person had just escaped from inside. Soon they were questioned by the people from the Heavenly Note sect. I came to ask for help. Our people are coming out soon, but at the last moment, they were held back by the demonic beasts. I hope the sect can provide support. Almost everyone had similar things to say. There were indeed people from the sect who had gone inside. Jiang Hao was inside too. He considered how to leave without attracting attention. Running out now would be too conspicuous. Suddenly he felt someone approaching. This person was very powerful. Boom. A powerful attack blasted open the sea fog. The crowd rejoiced. The sect had come to support them. Jiang Hao also breathed a sigh of relief, then followed the crowd and withdrew. This time there were no surprises and everyone made it out. Jing Shurjiu noticed him. After a brief reunion with the group, they all left. It wasn't safe to stay in the sea fog cave for long. If the Heavenly Note sect and the people from overseas had won, it was fine. But if they lost, it would affect the outside. Once he confirmed that everything was fine, Jiang Hao planned to go back. It had been a long time since he went home. He didn't know what it was like back there. He had come to the sea fog cave at the end of January, and now it was early July. 5 months had passed. Jing Shurjiu, Xian Yue, and the others also left with him. The 4 of them were on the same team, so they were going back together to report their mission. The sea fog cave had experienced unusual changes, and it was no longer suitable for cultivators of their level to participate. Surviving and coming out was already considered as the mission being completed. This mission exceeded our expectations, Xian Yue said with emotion as she flew on her sword. It was so much easier back when we were recruiting disciples together, Jing Shurjiu said with a smile as he opened his folded fan. It's been so many years. How are the recruited disciples doing? You asked curiously. Xian Yue smiled awkwardly. Mine didn't have any surprises. They are all ordinary disciples. Jing Shurjiu sighed helplessly. His situation was the same as Xian Yue. I brought back 4 people. The one who stood out among them was the one with insufficient talent back then, Yu said. I thought he wouldn't last long, but unexpectedly he showed astonishing perseverance and a heart like steel. He's most suitable for our flowing waterfall branch. They looked at Jiang Hao. They were curious about the people he brought back. Jiang Hao recalled the 3 people he had brought back. From the 3 people I brought back, 1 married an inner disciple. The other one is at the foundation establishment realm. The last one is still at the first stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. Each of them was extraordinary. The first 2 were as expected, but the last one was simply unbelievable. It had been so many years, and they were still at the first stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. I remember that one. His friends have already reached the foundation establishment realm, right? Said Jing Shurjiu. The group expressed their sympathy. They talked about casual matters and arrived at the law enforcement hall. After reporting the completion of their mission, the 4 of them went their separate ways. On his way, Jiang Hao met Lu Xingqian. He encountered him as soon as he came back. It made Jiang Hao feel that something was wrong. Chapter 528. I'm not angry. I'm just lost in thought. This time the impact of the sea fog cave was not small. Jiang Hao also felt that he had done a lot of things and now Lu Xingqian was coming over. It didn't seem like there would be any good news. Junior brother Jiang, Lu Xingqian looked at the person in front of him, hesitated and finally sighed. Junior brother Jiang, do you feel uneasy when you do nothing? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Currently your achievements are ranked first. I feel that even after the crisis in the sea fog cave is over, your achievements will still remain in the first place. Lu Xingqian sighed. If that's the case, then you might be taken out of the law enforcement hall's suspect list. Jiang Hao was surprised. He recalled his days in the sea fog cave, and in an instant he thought of Heaven Lock. Heaven Lock is extremely unique. He was still waiting for Elder Baiji's sealing order, and he had some worries that he might be in danger. Heaven Lock should be known to as few people as possible. So he wouldn't talk about it publicly. Now he is directly lying on the merit list. Isn't that telling others blatantly that he has made a major gain? And won't the members of the Holy Thief who know about Heaven Lock target him immediately? Even if it was not Heaven Lock, his first contribution in the sea fog cave was that he had disrupted the Saint Bandits' plans. Before, he thought that the Saint Bandits would target him, but now, in this way he would definitely be resented. His achievements weren't of importance. What worried him was that he was going to be taken out of the suspect list. That was just an accident, Jiang Hao said helplessly. He also mentioned the matter of the life core bead. Lu Xingchen thought for a moment. Junior brother, you can consider it seriously. Currently there are not many people targeting you in the sect. Once you are off the list, you will become a true disciple. After that, not many people will dare to target you, especially since the Heavenly Joy Pavilion seems to have settled their matter. Is there a way by which I can remain on the list? Jiang Hao. We are paying close attention to the matter, especially the task hall. Jiang Hao was speechless. If he was taken off the list, the task hall wouldn't be able to earn spirit stones from him. It was natural for them to pay attention to this. The two walked on the road and Jiang Hao thought of a solution. His achievements are too high. If there are no accidents, the law enforcement hall won't be able to handle the pressure. It seemed impossible to keep him on the list. He really didn't have the intention of making great contributions. Who could have known that Elder Baiji would give him such great credit? If someone understood the text on Heaven Lock, they would know how terrifying the thing is. By the way, we recently found someone at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, Lu Xingchen said. We have been watching this person for a long time, and it seems that he wants to leave. But he knows that he is being watched and is still contacting people. Maybe he's looking for a scapegoat. But this person has been guarding the mountain lately and hasn't been in contact with anyone. Lu Xingchen seemed to think of something. Oh, I heard that you killed a Golden Core Realm cultivator in the Sea Fog Cave. Although it was someone from overseas, we are currently cooperating with overseas forces. Your actions may be seen as damaging the alliance between the two sides. Jiang Hao looked at Lu Xingchen and understood his implication. The crime of threatening the alliance is not really that big. He still needed to be associated with traitors and spies to be considered suspicious. Currently, the known undercover agents were Lu Xingchen, Senior Sister Ming Yi, and Senior Sister Hua Lu. Unfortunately, these three were not suitable for his plan. So, the only option was the one mentioned by Lu Xingchen. He just didn't know if it would be considered serious enough. Regardless, he had to try. Guarding the mountain was also a sect mission that usually lasted for several years. He just didn't know which sect the undercover agent was from. After bidding farewell to Lu Xingchen, Jiang Hao headed away in regret. The three remnant souls had disappeared. He didn't know what had happened to them. Perhaps they already disappeared or maybe are biding their time. But in a few years, Lu Xingchen may step into the Soul Ascension realm, which was surprisingly fast. Jiang Hao went straight to the Heavenly Note sect's gate in the mountain. There were 4 people standing there, and each of them had a Golden Core Realm cultivation. Among the 4 people, one of them might be the person mentioned by Lu Xingchen. No one is hiding their cultivation realm and there are no issues with their auras. Jiang Hao observed them for a moment but couldn't determine who was the most suspicious. There were 2 men and 2 women. They were sitting cross-legged on the ground and seemed to be meditating and cultivating. 2 of them are cultivating and the other 2 are paying attention to their surroundings. The ones cultivating have stable auras which represent a calm state of mind. Those 2 might not be the spies mentioned by Lu Xingchen. After that, Jiang Hao looked at the 2 women who were standing nearby. One was at the late Golden Core Realm, and the other was at the middle stage of the Golden Core Realm. He didn't know which of the 2 was the person from the Cliff of Broken Hearts, so he could only use his ability to appraise them. He first appraised the one in the late Golden Core Realm. She was from the Law Enforcement Hall. Not her, then it must be. Jiang Hao turned to the woman in the middle of the Golden Core Realm. She was wearing a dark red gown. Could it be her? Jiang Hao couldn't be sure, so he would have to wait until tomorrow. If it was her, he had to make contact with her as soon as possible. He had to cement his stay on the suspect list before the situation in the Sea Fog Cave stabilized. Back at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, Jiang Hao saw Xiaoli sitting in front of the Spirit Herb Garden. She looked angry. Cheng Cho walked over with a box of pastries. Senior brother Jiang? He was very surprised. What's wrong? Jiang Hao asked. Who made her unhappy? It's because of this. Cheng Cho handed the pastries to Jiang Hao. Junior sister Xiaoli said she prepared a box of pastries for you, but you didn't return for a long time, and she couldn't resist and ate them all. She is upset at herself. Jiang Hao chuckled and approached her. When he got closer, he handed a pastry to her. Want some? Xiaoli instinctively bit into it and realized it was Jiang Hao who had given it to her. Senior brother Jiang. Are you upset? Xiaoli immediately shook her head. No. I was just lost in thought. Is that so? Jiang Hao didn't press further. He handed her the pastries. Ching Chou bought them for you. After eating the pastries, Xiaoli became excited and completely forgot about why she was upset. Where is the Soirit beast? Jiang Hao asked. It should have come back by now. It probably went to find junior brother Lin. A lot happened this time he went back and junior brother Lin took quite a hit, Ching Chou said. That was bound to happen. Two people of the same age at the Foundation Establishment realm, while one was still at the Lifeblood Refinement realm. What happened? Jiang Hao asked. When he went back, the old lady who was helping to keep Lin Ji's house clean passed away. She couldn't make it through. She froze to death. At that time, he said if his cultivation was a bit higher, he could have used the techniques to save her. He could use the technique at the right time. Chapter 529. He did everything he could but achieved nothing. Jiang Hao remained silent as he listened to Lin Ji's situation. Lin Ji was unaware of the secret within himself. The old lady respected him because he was an immortal disciple, but he couldn't do anything to save her in the end. Indeed, that would be quite a blow. However, the old lady's death was probably not solely due to the cold. It was more likely that her time had come. But considering Lin Ji's experiences with his own mother, he found it hard to let himself off the hook. He would think it was his fault and would torment himself with the guilt. Is there anything else? Jiang Hao asked. Ching Chou nodded. Junior brother Lin and the others went out in search of the Blood Wish Path. Since they were over there, they conducted an investigation. Although they didn't find the Blood Wish Path, they did find another group of people. They were from Azure Mountain and conflicts arose between the two sides. How did people from Azure Mountain end up over there? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Azure Mountain seldom approached that area because it was too close to the Heavenly Note sect. Ching Chou looked embarrassed. They also came for the Blood Wish Path. It seems they were a group of hot-headed, idealistic young individuals full of zeal to vanquish demons and evil spirits. So they clashed. Jiang Hao was surprised. This was indeed an unnecessary disaster. Yes. They fought, and unfortunately, in an attempt to save junior brother Lin, Zhao Qingxue was knocked off a cliff. Her fate is still unknown. They haven't found her till now? Jiang Hao was surprised. Zhao Qingxue was from the White Moon Lake, and the sect would take this matter very seriously. It said that there's a hidden ancient tomb beneath the cliff, and it's highly likely that junior sister Zhao fell into the tomb. People from the White Moon Lake have gone there, and the members of the Law Enforcement Hall and other disciples have gone as well, Ching Chou said. Jiang Hao knew that many of them went there for the ancient tomb. However, going there increased the probability of finding the missing person. Anna Jummer Brotner Lin was drowned dak. He was told not to get involved because his cultivation realm is too low, said Ching Chou. Junior brother Lin didn't intend to be a burden. He just wanted to stay nearby to await their updates. However, he was sent back. Jiang Hao sighed. Because his cultivation was too weak, Lin Ji didn't even have the qualifications to help in the search. Waiting there while doing nothing was humiliating. He was safely sent back to the sect, but he couldn't do anything. Lin Ji was recruited into the sect by Jiang Hao. 10 years had passed since then. He was now in his early 20s. How long has it been since you returned? Jiang Hao asked. About a month, Ching Chou said. You've been out for so long? Jiang Hao was surprised. He was away for 5 months. The beast and the others had been away for almost the same amount of time. It seemed they spent quite a bit of their time in that tomb, but he didn't know what kind of tomb it was. As for opportunities, there would probably be some inside. However, opportunities were accompanied by danger, and it was hard to say if Zhao Qingxue was safe or not. If she was dead, it would be a blow to Lin Ji. Many people might even resent him and look down on him because she had disappeared to save him. A Foundation Establishment realm genius dying to save a Lifeblood Refinement realm cultivator would cause a storm. Jiang Hao sighed sadly. The Spirit Herb Garden seemed to be quite busy. He decided to wait for the outcome. When a battle in the Sea Fog Cave began, the Spirit Herb Garden would naturally need to provide support. However, it might not be as big of a battle as before. Senior Sister Miao Tinglian was in charge of the Spirit Herb Garden temporarily. She was quite knowledgeable about spirit herbs, and having her take charge was reasonable. Miao Tinglian had an exceptional position at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, and Mu Qi had become a powerful expert at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. In the evening, Jiang Hao returned to the courtyard. These past few months, everything had gone smoothly in the spirit herb garden, and Ching Chou had managed to establish himself in the outer sect's spirit herb garden. However, Jiang Hao felt somewhat despondent. If things continued this way, he might not be in charge of the spirit herb garden anymore. He wondered what his master was thinking. I should do something to make it impossible for my master to send me away from here. I'll continue living as a suspicious disciple. After returning to his house, he took stock of his gains from his recent trip. The biggest gain was Heaven Lock, but this technique was too terrifying and he dared not write it down. Next were the bubbles that brought him closer to his advancement to a higher realm. Finally, there were spirit stones. Because they were still within the sect, they didn't dare to take too many, and each person had to share. So there weren't many left. There were still a few thousand, and when he added it to what he already had, it was rugby a little over TMRT White Nisana. He could now consider upgrading the formation around the courtyard. Recently, the spiritual energy in the courtyard had become denser. If he didn't conceal it, it could easily cause unnecessary misunderstandings. As a golden core realm cultivator, having a formidable formation around the courtyard was understandable. However, it was quite expensive. The last quote from the merchant was 13,000. Jiang Hao was reluctant. Jiang Hao placed the half-moon blade in a corner of the courtyard. He would need to buy a new half-moon blade. It was yet another extravagant expense. After a simple inspection of the courtyard, he sat there and waited. He was waiting for the beast to come back. In July the weather was a bit hot, but the courtyard felt refreshing. The peach tree, which was taller than the walls around, began to bloom again and attracted Shaoli. Jiang Hao took out the nameless manual and began to read. The sun had set and the moon hung in the sky. The cool wind blew through Jiang Hao's hair. At that moment, Jiang Hao set down the book and looked toward the entrance of the courtyard. The spirit beast was nibbling on a carrot. Master, you're back? He nodded and pointed to the wooden chair. After a couple of hops, the beast landed on the table. Jiang Hao didn't mind. Tell me about Lin Ji. The spirit beast continued to nibble on the carrot. Lin Ji's return is quite complicated. As the beast recounted the events, Jiang Hao listened calmly. He couldn't help but sigh. Misfortune targets the unfortunate, and ill luck finds those in distress. In the cultivation world, there were many unfortunate individuals. He recalled encountering Shuiyu in the corpse realm before and the bald golden core realm cultivator in the sea fog cave. Both were similar. He had killed the former but had helped resolve her unfulfilled wish later. So the matter was settled. As for the bald cultivator, he had saved him once out of a sense of duty. That cultivator was willing to face death together with him. Jiang Hao vividly remembered that bald cultivator's astonished look when he had told them all to escape. The spirit beast confirmed that Lin Ji had returned to his village and found the old lady. He had done everything within his capabilities to help the old woman. He had begged, fetched medicines, chopped wood, and prepared meals. However, the people had ignored him. The doctor was indifferent. The meals he cooked were too hard for the old lady to swallow, and the house couldn't withstand the cold winter wind. By the time the firewood burned out, the old lady had closed her eyes forever. Her last wish had been simple. She only wanted to eat an egg once again. Lin Ji managed to get an egg from somewhere, but when he returned, the old lady had already passed away. He did everything he could but achieved nothing. That's all. He did everything he could but still couldn't save the old lady. The spirit beast shook its head while nibbling on the carrot. The meat of unlucky people is too bitter to eat. I can't stomach it. Chapter 530, Marriage Certificate. Jiang Hao sat in the chair and poured himself a cup of tea. In the demonic sect, he just wanted to survive, and ordinary people outside also simply wanted to survive. In a certain sense, they were all the same. All struggling in their own way. Did she die from the cold? He asked. No. The spirit beast shook its head. She was afflicted with an incurable illness and had no chance. Even if she went to another place, she wouldn't have survived this winter. Jiang Hao nodded and didn't say much. Life, old age, sickness, and death were experiences everyone had to go through. It all depended on how they faced it. Some people succumbed to depression and ended their lives. Others had brief moments of glory, and yet others left a lasting legacy. Peace and harmony were a luxury. What about Zhao Qingxue? Jiang Hao asked. That tomb didn't show any respect for the great demon. Jiang Hao understood. Even the spirit beast could do nothing and could only watch the events unfold. How is Lin Ji doing now? Not well, and more people are bullying him. They all know that the genius is missing. He has fallen into a cycle of self-blame and doubt. This was something Lin Ji had to go through. Keep an eye on Zhao Qingxue. Let me know if there are any updates, said Jiang Hao. Zhao Qingxue's fate would determine Lin Ji's direction of life in the future. If she survived, it would bring relief to Lin Ji. If she died, it would be a knot in his heart that could ruin his life. He had accepted the death of his mother and harassment from other disciples without complaints. But this time it was something he couldn't accept. He would feel like it was his fault she had died. No amount of encouragement could change the fact that Zhao Qingxue had died because of him. Even if he wiped out the entire Azure Mountain, it couldn't change the fact that she was dead. Master, when Shaoli was cleaning the house, she found a bathroom inside. She asked if she could bathe in there. The spirit beast suddenly asked. No. Jiang Hao shook his head. You go buy something similar for her and place it in her house. If the house is too small, let me know. He couldn't trust the spirit beast to build a house. As for his bathroom, it was used by Hong Yuya. If someone else used it, Hong Yuya might be offended. If that happened, Shaoli would lose an elder brother, and the spirit beast would become a wild creature without a master. He returned to his room and started cultivating. This time he was learning something different from the previous techniques, the Heaven Lock technique. This technique was so terrifying that he didn't dare teach it to others. If Hong Yuya asked about it, he didn't know how to respond. After a night, there was no progress in his cultivation. Even though he felt he could learn it, he just couldn't get into the right state. Acing the clear and pure heart ability didn't help either. This technique is really strange. In the courtyard, he examined the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and realized that there was hardly any change over the past few months. 13 years had passed and it had only grown 7 leaves. After instructing the spirit beast to go to the spirit herb garden, he went alone to the mountain gate. This time the 4 people were not cultivating. They were talking to each other. Jiang Hao focused on the woman from before and appraised her. Jiang Hao sighed and realized that there were quite a few people undercover from the Heavenly Saint sect. Senior sister Mingyi was one, and Yan Hua was another. Now there was Luo Ji. There were 3 people at the Golden Core realm. However, it seemed like only Mingyi had her own plans and she concealed them well. Currently, she still didn't pose any threat to him and even helped him sometimes. Thus, he didn't need to deal with her. If she was a threat, Luo Ji wouldn't have any business here. Jiang Hao quietly left after that. The Heavenly Saint sect was persistent in investigating him. It had been so many years and they still thought Yan Hua had entrusted the secret to him. They even sent someone to watch him. However, this spy seemed very careful and didn't approach him. She is searching for a scapegoat to brand them as a traitor. That's fine by me. But how do I approach her? As fellow disciples of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, there might be a chance. After much thought, the only solution he could think of was to exchange sect missions. He could exchange with her to guard the mountain gate. It wasn't impossible to do that. If she wanted to find a scapegoat, she would definitely agree. Then they both would make an exchange. I'm just wary that she might not do anything at all. He couldn't act first. He had to wait for her to use him as a scapegoat. Otherwise, he would be blamed for killing a fellow disciple of the sect. If that happened, he wouldn't just be on the suspect list. He would be sent directly to the Lawless Tower. Decades of cultivation could be ruined in an instant. Back at the Spirit Herb Garden, Jiang Hao was still thinking about how to exchange missions with the woman. Junior brother Jiang, you're back. It was Miao Tinglian. She was as beautiful as ever. Senior sister Miao, you look happy, said Jiang Hao. He felt something was odd between Miao Tinglian and Mu Qi. Is that so? Miao Tinglian looked at her hands. Not really. Jiang Hao was speechless. You're already at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Your advancement in cultivation is so fast. Miao Tinglian frowned. I used to think you were fast, but I didn't expect you to reach the Golden Core realm at such a young age. In a few more years, won't you surpass me? Really? You are so talented. I don't think I can surpass you, senior sister Miao. Actually, Jiang Hao felt that Miao Tinglian was very talented, but she was wasting that on her romantic relationship. However, her cultivation still progressed rapidly. 10 years ago she was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and now she was in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Really? That's good then. Miao Tinglian laughed. It seemed like she was really happy. Jiang Hao was puzzled. Did senior brother Muqi proposed marriage to you? Proposal? What proposal? Miao Tinglian looked confused. She then stumbled and a red paper fell to the ground. Oh my, what's this? Do you want to see? Miao Tinglian said as she handed it to Jiang Hao. A marriage certificate? Jiang Hao took the paper. A marriage certificate? Miao Tinglian covered her mouth with delicate fingers and acted surprised. Whose is it? Can you read it aloud? Jiang Hao glanced at her and then looked at Muqi. Muqi turned away awkwardly. Junior brother, don't you know how to read? Miao Tinglian said. Jiang Hao slowly began to read it aloud. Under the auspicious signs, a good fate is sealed. Mutual respect and sincerity, like the Mandarin ducks in harmony. May our relationship be prosperous and lasting. With one heart and one virtue, let our home be blessed. May our bond be as eternal as the mythological phoenixes and bound together with eternal love. This is the testimony. Muqi and Miao Tinglian. Chapter 531. How should he act to make it seem like he had fallen for her spell? After reading the marriage contract, Jiang Hao looked up at the senior sister in front of him and felt that she had indeed come to make things difficult for him. These words weren't easy to recognize. Maybe he mispronounced them and they wouldn't even know. At that moment, senior brother Muqi was standing next to senior sister Miao Tinglian. He smiled softly. Jiang Hao smiled. Congratulations, senior brother and senior sister. Miao Tinglian took back the marriage certificate. Oh, it's my marriage contract. I'll put it away then. Jiang Hao was speechless. Senior sister's acting skill was really overstated. But she did get what she wanted. When she escaped from the Heavenly Saint sect to the Heavenly Note sect, it was for senior brother Muqi. Now they were really a couple. Jiang Hao didn't know if they had simplified the ceremony or planned to hold it later. Junior brother Jiang, please don't pay attention to her, Muqi said helplessly. Senior brother and senior sister, you really are made for each other, Jiang Hao said with a smile. He couldn't exactly explain it, but when they stood together they seemed to blend into each other. In contrast, when he thought about himself and Hong Yuye, he felt as though there was an invisible barrier between them. Junior brother Jiang, that's so nice of you to say. Lately I met another junior sister. She is beautiful. She is an alchemist and no one notices her. She's in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, but her progress isn't as fast as yours. Do you want to meet her? You will see that she is beyond your imagination, said Miao Tinglian. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. In his mind he saw Hong Yuye. Who could surpass her? He politely declined. What kind of person do you like? Miao Tinglian asked curiously. You don't seem to like those with matching personalities, nor do you like those with enchanting physiques. What do you like? Why can't I be wholeheartedly devoted to the cultivation path? Jiang Hao smiled and asked. That seems to be it. Otherwise, who would stay put in this garden without going out at all? Said Miao Tinglian. People who are like that wish for a peaceful life, right? Without a partner your life will be too boring here. Jiang Hao didn't know how to respond. If he wanted a partner there was only one choice and that was impossible to even think about. He wouldn't consider anyone else. Unlike other reclusive individuals, he harbored hope, and everything he did was for the sake of reaching a higher realm. His future held promise. Miao Tinglian talked for a while. When she realized Jiang Hao was still there she was surprised. It seems that you really like beautiful ladies. In the past you would have excused yourself but this time, you don't seem willing. Muqi was curious why Jiang Hao was here. Do you have something on your mind, junior brother Jiang? Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. I've been thinking about guarding the mountain gate for a change. Senior brother Mu, do you have any way to help with that? He should have left, but time waited for no one. Muqi happened to come over by himself so he didn't need to seek him out. To exchange missions he needed the help of someone with a high cultivation realm. It was different from the exchange with Han Ming before. However, he didn't know if this would involve Muqi in any way. He needed to be careful. The mountain gate? Miao Tinglian asked in surprise. Why do you want to guard the mountain gate? The situation in the sea fog cave has changed, Jiang Hao said. Muqi and Miao Tinglian exchanged glances. It made sense. Jiang Hao had been staying in the spirit herb garden because it was safe and stable here. The mountain gate was the same. It was just a tedious job. Jiang Hao didn't seem to mind the monotony, so it was normal for him to want to guard the mountain gate. Muqi thought for a moment. If it were in the past it might have been difficult, but now it shouldn't be a problem. I remember there's a junior sister who's stationed at the mountain gate, and she's eager to leave. If you are certain, I'll talk with her. Once she agrees, we just need to report to the sect, and then a trip to the law enforcement hall should do it. Thank you, senior brother Mu, Jiang Hao said gratefully. Mu Qi and Miao Tinglian had been quite good to him. It all started with him bringing senior sister Miao into the sect. She was grateful to him, which gradually led to them becoming familiar with each other. Otherwise, why would senior sister Miao take out her marriage certificate and let him look? He just didn't know when they would have the wedding ceremony. It would definitely involve some expenses. Mu Qi quickly arranged it, and in the afternoon of the same day, Jiang Hao met senior sister Luo Ji. It was unexpected for him. Ching Chou felt uncomfortable. During Jiang Hao's absence he had been under a lot of pressure. Although the spirit herb garden was busy with senior sister Miao taking care of it, she was often absent. Some routine matters were left unattended, so he had to handle them all by himself. Fortunately, there hadn't been any issues like before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to handle it. He knew exactly how capable he was. Luo Ji felt even more uneasy. When she learned that someone wanted to exchange the mission with her, she was delighted. However, when she learned that it was Jiang Hao, she hesitated. She felt that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. To exchange missions with someone she needed to keep an eye on was a chance that was hard to come by. Since Jiang Hao's cultivation realm was lower than hers, she could try to charm him and thus learn the secret left by Yan Hua. She could also shift all the blame onto Jiang Hao. As long as there was a slim chance of escape, she could smoothly leave the Heavenly Note sect and escape from this perilous situation. Jiang Hao didn't know what she was thinking and was worried about how to handle the situation if he wronged her. They exchanged a few words and senior sister Luo Ji left. She agreed to exchange the mission with him but needed a few days to complete some tasks first. She told him that she would find him at night the next day because she was free only then. Jiang Hao was delighted. He needed to make the law enforcement hall see him as suspicious before the turmoil in the sea fog cave subsided. This junior has an enchanting figure. It's obvious she has learned enchantment techniques and she's quite good at it. Junior brother Jiang, be careful, Miao Tinglian said. Enchantment. Jiang Hao smiled. He had also learned a little about it. He was immune to enchantment. However, he could still observe her and pretend to set his plan into motion. A person like this isn't suitable as a partner. Junior brother Jiang, don't let yourself be enchanted, Miao Tinglian said in warning. Even if she looks beautiful and graceful, you can't marry her. You should marry someone only you find beautiful. For example, the junior alchemist I mentioned before. She dresses well and no one knows about her beauty. You make talismans and she refines pills. It's a perfect match. Jiang Hao was surprised. Senior sister Miao was really serious about picking a partner for him. The next day at night, Jiang Hao arrived at senior sister Luo Ji's residence. The courtyard was surrounded by tall trees and protected by formations. Creak. The door opened. A woman appeared dressed in thin garments. She pulled out the hairpin that tied her hair up. Her hair cascaded down her back. It's Jummer Brotner Jlang. She seemed to have thought of something and pulled her dress up a little. Jiang Hao was speechless. Is this an enchantment? He wondered how he should act to make it seem like he had fallen for her spell. Chapter 532, Caught Lusting After a Fellow Disciple. Jiang Hao sat attentively in the courtyard. Luo Ji smiled. She wore a sheer dress, with an enticing bosom that peeked through it. Her slender waist gently swayed. She did this deliberately to capture her target in one move. There was no time to waste. Tonight the results had to be achieved. This was her best chance, otherwise she wouldn't be able to escape the scrutiny of the law enforcement hall. Up till now she had been cautious in her actions. There might not be any evidence against her yet. But continuing like this would be dangerous. Why did you suddenly decide to guard the mountain gate? Luo Ji looked at Jiang Hao. Because it's an easy job, Jiang Hao said and lowered his head. He acted like he was afraid to meet her gaze. He thought the conversation would quickly get away from them. However, they talked a lot and still the conversation wasn't heading to where Jiang Hao intended. He didn't know why she was still on her guard. Isn't she too talkative? Is it because my acting didn't meet her expectations? Jiang Hao couldn't sense her enchantment, so he found it a bit troublesome to cooperate. It wasn't easy to act. Jiang Hao pretended that he couldn't pay attention to her words. She wasn't that interesting. Her words weren't even comparable to the sound of Hong Yuye's breathing. Junior brother Jiang, do you still remember Yan Hua? I do. Jiang Hao nodded. Did she tell you anything or give you something? Luo Ji asked. No. Yan Hua seems to have been killed, Jiang Hao said. He couldn't say yes, but saying nothing wasn't an option either. Luo Ji was surprised. Killed? By whom? I don't know. I didn't dare to get close. Jiang Hao shook his head. After that, Luo Ji asked for more details, and Jiang Hao only mentioned what he could. After a while, a dagger appeared in front of Jiang Hao. Junior brother Jiang, take this, Luo Ji said gently. Jiang Hao knew that she was about to do something and didn't refuse. As he grabbed the dagger, she told him to stand up. Then the dagger plunged into her belly. Blood dripped from the wound. Jiang Hao was astonished. She was indeed ruthless. Boom. Jiang Hao was sent flying and the entire courtyard exploded. Luo Ji began to retreat. Her gaze was firm and her voice was low. Junior brother Jiang, I never expected you to be a spy from the Heavenly Saint sect. Jiang Hao stood up and looked at her in confusion. Of course it was all an act. Now he didn't have to worry about being taken off the list. However, he didn't know how much of an impact this would have. If Luo Ji hadn't done this, he would have been left with no choice. Now he had to make her suffer. The loud noise drew people from the surroundings, and the law enforcement hall arrived promptly. If it were a conflict within their respective sects, they wouldn't interfere. However, when it came to spies and traitors, it was their duty to intervene. Both Mu Qi and Miao Tinglian had rushed over. They were surprised. They looked at Jiang Hao and Luo Ji being taken away. Spy? Junior brother Jiang? How is that possible? Miao Tinglian couldn't believe it. She felt that Luo Ji was the undercover agent. You used to be from the Heavenly Saint sect too. Do you think it's Luo Ji? Mu Qi asked. It's hard to say. But since she is already here, she would have prepared for it. Miao Tinglian shook her head. Will this incident implicate you? It shouldn't, but junior brother Jiang might be stuck in the suspect list even if he isn't a spy, said Mu Qi. Does the master think highly of junior brother Jiang? Miao Tinglian was curious. Not exactly, but he thinks he has talent. Recently, junior brother Jiang has made significant contributions in the Sea Fog Cave, and master told me to pay more attention to the law enforcement hall's list. He wanted to promote him to the status of a true disciple soon. It's a pity? Miao Tinglian sighed. She felt a bit sorry for Jiang Hao. When she saw that Mu Qi looked conflicted, she asked, What's wrong? Mu Qi shook his head. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but every time junior brother Jiang has the chance to make it out of the suspect list, he gets involved with spies and traitors. Will he be okay? Probably. His merits are still there. Unless there is irrefutable evidence, he can't be punished. At midnight, Jiang Hao was locked in the same small dark room as before. The only thing visible was a small window at the top. He still remembered the first time he was here. Hong Yuye had visited him. She had sat at a table and not uttered a word. It seemed like she was waiting for him to ask for help, but unfortunately, the beast had offered it earlier. He had placed all his hopes on the spirit beast. That was the only way he had been able to escape safely. Now he didn't feel the same restlessness he had felt before. He wanted to leave this place and it wasn't difficult. He had come here voluntarily this time. The following morning, Jiang Hao was summoned for interrogation. It was a woman in charge. After some questioning, he was escorted out. Looking at the sunshine, Jiang Hao was bewildered. So rapt. It was beyond his expectations. He thought he'd be detained for at least 3 days. Good morning, junior brother Jiang. Lu Xingxin greeted him with a smile. Are you surprised that they let you out so soon? It is a bit surprising. Jiang Hao nodded. He was concerned that there might not be any charges against him. You were released quickly because there's no evidence against you, Lu Xingxin said. Without evidence, the law enforcement hall wouldn't dare to detain a person with the highest merits. However, no evidence doesn't mean you're off the hook. You're still a person under investigation. You can't leave the sect temporarily. I believe you are familiar with the rules by now. As for taking your name off the suspect list, it will depend on the outcome of the investigation. Lu Xingxin looked curious. Jiang Hao knew he would keep an eye on him. Out of curiosity, he appraised Lu Xingxin. The 3 remnant souls seemed somewhat apprehensive, but they were still plotting and planning against Lu Xingqian. Moreover, they planned to continue recruiting other soul remnants. There was strength in numbers after all. Apart from this, Jiang Hao noticed Lu Xingqian's growing interest in him. He had completely forgotten about the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Oh, by the way, I need to remind you. The mission of guarding the mountain has been transferred to you, Lu Xingqian said. Because the matter is still under investigation, Luo Ji can't leave the sect temporarily. Her original intention was to give over the task to you, so the mission is yours. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by this. It was just guarding the mountain gate. He could accept it. He still had some free time, and it wouldn't interfere with his task of taking care of the divine flower. After bidding farewell to Lu Xingqian, Jiang Hao returned to the courtyard. Just as he stepped through the door, he saw a red figure inside. She looked up at him with a smile. Shaoli told me you were caught lusting after a fellow disciple. Jiang Hao felt anxious. However, what surprised him more was that Shaoli had met Hong Yuya. As for the thing about lusting after someone, he simply explained the situation. Senior, besides you, I don't find anyone beautiful. Chapter 533. Are you trying to deceive me? Jiang Hao wasn't lying. He was afflicted with the heaven extinction goo poison. He only felt desire toward the person with the other part of the same poison. This particular person happened to be Hong Yuya. Any other woman besides her just seemed like a skull with makeup on. Hong Yuya understood this. He explained everything. However, she kept her head down and remained silent. Jiang Hao was unable to understand what she was feeling. Jiang Hao worried about Shaoli. Senior, Shaoli didn't say anything offensive to you, did she? He remembered that Shaoli had called her sister-in-law last time. He hoped Hong Yuya didn't still remember that. If she did, it would be lethal for him. Do you think she did? Hong Yuya asked calmly. Shaoli is obedient and sensible, but occasionally she is a bit impulsive because of her young age, said Jiang Hao. Oh. Hong Yuya's brows twitched slightly. If she did offend me, how do you think I should handle it? Senior, I can't obviously tell you what to do and what not to do, said Jiang. Oh. He didn't dare to offend her. Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao. It was torment for him to be stared at by someone this powerful. He felt that he would be reduced to ashes very soon. How long has Shaoli been with you? Hong Yuya asked. It's been 10 years, I suppose, Jiang Hao said. Shaoli might be 21 this year, but her appearance hadn't changed at all. She still looked the same as before. 10 years, said Hong Yuya with some emotion. Jiang Hao didn't understand why she felt emotional about it. He was 32 years old. It would be logical for him to feel emotional about his lost years. But why would Hong Yuya feel emotional? Judging by her cultivation realm, it was possible she might have lived countless years. It seems that Shaoli is indeed a good child, Hong Yuya said with a smile. She is a good child, Jiang Hao said firmly. Although he didn't understand why Hong Yuya suddenly said that, it was still a compliment. After that, he went to the wooden table and started making tea. How much do you know about the Saint Bandits? Hong Yuya asked while drinking tea. They are from the heavenly spirit tribe who were cast aside by the world, said Jiang Hao. What else? Hong Yuya asked. Jiang Hao remained silent for a moment. He had already mentioned everything before except for one thing. The discovery he had made at the sea fog cave. Should I mention it? There is a technique related to becoming a saint bandit from the heavenly spirit tribe. Hong Yuya looked at him. It's called Haven Lock, said Jiang Hao. He poured himself a cup of tea and briefly explained the Heaven Lock technique. The technique was bizarre and he had studied it for a long time but still couldn't master it. There was a vague possibility of success, but he always fell short. He wasn't sure what he was lacking. Hong Yuya took a sip of her tea. What else? Besides Heaven Lock, there are some theories. These theories are shocking and a person possesses extraordinary talent. Jiang Hao sighed and then shared the theories he had seen. He hadn't fully understood these theories and he couldn't comprehend most of them, but he got the general idea. The total amount of racial talent remains unchanged? Hong Yuya asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. This was a profound matter, so he didn't delve too deep into it. It was far beyond what he could comprehend right now. Even if he understood it, he couldn't do anything to prove it. Hong Yuya just drank her tea and remained silent. Later, Jiang Hao informed her about the gathering. This gathering wasn't considered an important matter. The only thing worth mentioning was that someone had already set their sights on Heaven Lock. As for Feng Hua, it wasn't very important right now. He only emphasized it because Hong Yuye urged him to. Throughout the entire conversation, Hong Yuye remained silent and just enjoyed her tea. Jiang Hao had no choice but to drink his tea in silence. It wasn't until the moonlight shone brightly in the area that Hong Yuye snapped out of her thoughts. She glanced at the person in front of her and smiled. What kind of tea is this? Jiang Hao was momentarily stunned. It wasn't red azure tea for sure. You seem to be deceiving me lately, said Hong Yuye with a smile. Jiang Hao broke into a cold sweat. He stood up in fear. Senior, I absolutely have no such intention. Hong Yuye just smiled and stared at him unwaveringly. When she saw that Jiang Hao was sweating profusely, she got up and walked inside. Go prepare the bath. Jiang Hao let out a sigh of relief. Hong Yuye's unwavering stare was terrifying. Although no aura appeared, it was still frightening. This time Jiang Hao stood with his back to the folding screen and listened to the water splash in the tub. It was torment for him, especially after what he had seen last time. He kept hoping she would fall asleep so he could check on her. He immediately shook his head to dispel these thoughts. As time passed, Hong Yuye's influence on him grew even more significant. It was not so easy to elevate one's state of mind. He had reached a state where he was thinking of peeping. If he lost his composure, he might do something untoward. Could he still survive if he did that? He needed to reflect on himself. What are you thinking about? Hong Yuye suddenly asked. While Jiang Hao thought about how to respond, the voice sounded again. You aren't thinking about peeping, are you? No, senior. You're overthinking. Jiang Hao's heart skipped a beat. The sound of water suddenly stopped. After a while it continued again. What is your cultivation realm now? Early stage of the Golden Core realm, said Jiang Hao. All right, said Hong Yuye. There were no more sounds. To keep his mind stable, he planned to cultivate. He couldn't meditate for too long. He heard the water splashing once again. Following that, a woman in a simple gown with damp hair passed by him and headed straight to the second floor. I'm going to rest. Bring my clothes up for me. Jiang Hao was surprised. Hong Yuye hadn't finished her bath this early in the past. He picked up the red and white gown and followed her upstairs. Jiang Hao placed her clothes aside. Senior, your hair isn't dry yet, he said. There was no response. Senior? Jiang Hao called out again. Still there was no response. At this point, Hong Yuye was lying under the blanket and facing away from him. He couldn't see her face. He called out to her a few more times. There was no response at all and he hesitated. Should he help dry her hair? In the end he gave up. What if she wanted to rest just like that? If he was reckless, he would get in trouble. Jiang Hao sighed helplessly. He would have to change the bedding again tomorrow. Chapter 534. The one who can be restrained by the law enforcement hall. Hong Yuye was resting and Jiang Hao didn't dare to go too far. He could only come to the balcony and continue to keep watch. Now and then he glanced inside. Her damp hair made him think about drying it. If it were Shaoli, he would have offered to help dry it. But Hong Yuye needed to be treated carefully. Jiang Hao sighed. Then he began to consider tomorrow's matters. If nothing unexpected happened, he would need to visit the mountain gate tomorrow afternoon. If it weren't for the significant achievements in the Sea Fog Cave, he wouldn't have thought of this method and burdened himself with trouble. I need to buy a blade and sell the ores from Sea Fog Cave. The formation also needs an upgrade. It feels like there's a lot to do. I wonder if half a day will be enough tomorrow. Jiang Hao took out a book and started reading. It was the Nameless Manual. His experience in the Sea Fog Cave made him understand the importance of the Nameless Manual. It not only could be used to conceal cultivation but also to control power and drastically increase the strength of techniques. Furthermore, it was excellent for perceiving the surroundings. It was like the foundation of everything. The techniques of the Heavenly Blade and the use of body techniques were all closely related to it. Hong Yuye was also an extraordinary talent. In this world, there were countless extraordinary individuals, and many people's achievements were beyond Jiang Hao's reach. But he didn't mind. The extraordinary talents didn't conflict with him. What he wanted was to live well and have the ability to protect himself. Time passed quickly, and Jiang Hao felt like he hadn't been reading for long when the day broke. At this moment, a sound came from inside. Hong Yuye sat up. Her clothes were not disheveled. She looked at Jiang Hao, who had turned around and then checked her hair. She found it slightly damp. In an instant, a formidable aura emerged. Bam! Jiang Hao was sent flying. Bam! He fell to the ground in the courtyard and felt pain in his neck. It seemed like she wasn't that angry. It was much better than having his bones broken. But why? He thought of a possibility. Did she want him to help dry her hair? A gentle breeze blew, and a figure in red and white descended from above and stood beside him. It was Hong Yuye, who had changed into her gown. The long skirt reached her ankles. A red belt cinched her waist. Her long hair was tied up. She looked down at Jiang Hao. You, in the early stage of the Golden Core realm, seem to be not very competent. Jiang Hao stood up. I have disappointed you, senior. With a cold snort, Hong Yuye walked to the wooden table, placed a box and then faded. I'm not staying for free in your place. When Hong Yuye disappeared completely, Jiang Hao walked to the table and opened the box. Inside he found a familiar pill. The Sea God pill. Jiang Hao was surprised. After using the last one, he realized that the value of this pill was immeasurable. He just didn't know who to sell it to. Among the people he knew, few could afford the price. It would probably be possible to exchange it for something. He put the pill away carefully. Jiang Hao planned to go and buy a magic treasure. Just as he was about to leave, Xiaoli rushed over. Senior brother Jiang. She looked around. Where's senior sister? As long as it wasn't sister-in-law, Jiang Hao was relieved. Looking for the beast? Yeah. Xiaoli nodded and didn't ask about Hong Yuye's whereabouts again. Jiang Hao pointed to the river nearby. Follow this river down. You should find it there. Xiaoli waved goodbye to him and ran away. Jiang Hao would never lie to her after all. Such a character would suffer in a demonic sect, but Xiaoli was different. With the protection of the big golden core demon, there were few who could threaten her. Moreover, Xiaoli was a true disciple with a high status and she was fearless. Back then, when facing a flood dragon, she had been confident. At that time she was only in the lifeblood refinement realm. Xiaoli didn't take her opponent seriously, and she thought of herself as a human. A very ordinary human. Jiang Hao didn't intend to tell her. Just letting her grow up was enough. When the time came, she would be released together with the beast. Jiang Hao intended to buy a magic treasure first, but suddenly he looked back at a corner of the courtyard. His half-moon blade was gone. What's wrong with her? 5,000. Jiang Hao was surprised. A somewhat decent golden core magic treasure cost him 5,000 spirit stones. After some bargaining, he finally settled at a price of 4,600. This time it was a pure black long saber. It was not very sharp but was heavy. It was originally named Heavy Edge, but he decided to call it Half Moon Blade No. 4. After that, he spent half a day selling the ores. He got more than he expected for it. The amount totaled 7,650 spirit stones. Combined with what he already had, it came up to 31,763 spirit stones. And the materials for the formation cost him 12,000 spirit stones. This was a discount. It seemed that due to his achievements he got discounts when buying things at the Star Tower. He had a total of 19,763 spirit stones left. Fortunately, the immortal peach tree doesn't need incarnation this year, or else I would have to sell some heaven rejuvenating pills. In the afternoon he went to the mountain gate. At the mountain gate, the original group of 4 people had reduced to 3. At this moment, none of them were cultivating. They sat cross-legged in their respective seats. One of the men said, I really didn't expect junior sister Luo to be caught and suspected of being a traitor. It doesn't seem like her. Senior brother Xia, you seem to be quite close to junior sister Luo. We need to be careful, said the woman beside him with a smile. Junior sister Nan, you're joking. I don't have anything special with junior sister Luo. Everyone understands that. Right, senior brother Kong? Xia Xiyuan looked at the muscular man opposite him. Kong, who remained silent for a moment. Junior sister Nan, you are from the law enforcement hall, right? Do you know the details? I know some, but it's a bit different from what you all think. Junior sister Luo claimed that someone undercover had seriously injured her. Now they're both under investigation, Nan Yushu said. You all know this, but a problem has emerged. From what I know, the person branded as the spy is Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. And he has already come out of the law enforcement hall. He is about to take over junior sister Luo's position and guard the mountain gate. He's out. Xia Xiyuan was shocked. How did he get out? Wasn't he suspected of being a spy? It shouldn't be, said Kong Hu. I heard that this matter hasn't been settled yet. Right, but the law enforcement hall can restrain Jiang Hao. Do you know about the sect's achievement ranking? This time the achievements mainly come from the Sea Fog Cave. Jiang Hao is currently ranked first on the list. Without evidence, the law enforcement hall doesn't dare to touch him. The merit hall wouldn't agree, Nan Yushu said. What's his cultivation realm? Kong Hu asked. Early stage of the Golden Core realm, Nan Yushu said. It seems we need to be careful and avoid too much contact with him. Otherwise, the law enforcement hall might target us, Xia Xiyuan said. The others nodded. They didn't want to cause trouble. Chapter 535, Starting to Guard the Mountain Gate from Today. When Jiang Hao arrived at the mountain gate, he saw 3 people sitting quietly in meditation. Even when someone entered the mountain gate, they didn't pay any attention. They understood that it was only someone from the sect. They seemed to treat him like an ordinary disciple. I'm Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Greetings, seniors, said Jiang Hao. Due to the exchange of the mission with senior sister Luo Ji, I will be taking over guarding the mountain gate from now on. I apologize for the trouble. The 3 finally looked at Jiang Hao. The muscular man spoke first. I'm Kong Hu from the 100 Bones Forest. The scholarly-looking man was next. Xia Xiyuan from Ice Moon Valley. The woman smiled. Nan Yushu from the Law Enforcement Hall. After the introductions, they didn't say anything further. They had no questions. It saved Jiang Hao from explaining himself. After that, he sat cross-legged like the others. He slowly closed his eyes. He wasn't cultivating. He was observing his surroundings. He used the special perception learned from the Nameless Manual. Through the fluctuations of spiritual energy and the extension of auras around, he could observe the extension of people's auras and the flow of their lifeblood. The 4 of them sat like that. No one spoke. When it got dark, Nan Yushu, who was sitting opposite Jiang Hao, stood up. We leave at different times. Junior brother Jiang, your shift is usually over around midnight. If there's an emergency, make sure to inform us, Nan Yushu said as she opened her eyes. Jiang Hao was about to thank her, but she had already left. He didn't say anything further and continued to close his eyes to sense the surroundings. It was like practicing the knowledge from the Nameless Manual. He had a feeling that this kind of practice had many benefits for him. Not long after, senior sister Nan Yushu returned, and Jiang Hao left in the middle of the night. He returned to the courtyard. At this time, the beast was lying on the edge of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and drooling. Jiang Hao fetched a bowl of water. He sat down and thought about the heaven lock technique for a while before leaving. He returned to the mountain gate. After him, Xia Xiyuan left and lastly Kong Hu. By the time dawn arrived, everyone was already in their positions. They didn't speak. 2 of them cultivated while the other 2 kept watch. Jiang Hao slowly familiarized himself with the task of guarding the mountain gate. Soon a month passed. It was now early August. A lot had happened this month. People kept entering the Sea Fog Cave for support, and powerful auras surged. It erupted for 3 consecutive days before slowly calming down. But not long after, it erupted again. And a few days later it calmed down once more. Jiang Hao didn't know what was happening inside, but it seemed like the Heavenly Note sect had the upper hand. Otherwise it would have affected the outside world by now. Regarding the investigation of Luo Ji's matter, the progress was slow. Mainly because most of the people were in the Sea Fog Cave, and these less important matters were postponed. Looking at the situation in the Sea Fog Cave, Jiang Hao felt relieved. It was good that he had come out in time. Otherwise he might not have such peace. Guarding the mountain gate was indeed dull, but there was hardly anything to do. When each person entered the sect, they had an identity token. They could sense if someone had it. If not, they needed to ask about it. The sect had a formation that screened everyone. Usually, those who made it to this point were safe. But it wasn't as strict as he had expected. As long as they had a token and knew the secret code and method to enter the sect, they would have a smooth passage. For those who infiltrated the sect using such methods, the sect was helpless and unaware. It was not only their sect. It was the same for other sections. But compared to these methods, the best way to infiltrate the sect was to participate in the disciple recruitment process. During this month he didn't have time to take care of the spirit herbs, so he could only water the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and the other herbs beside it. This way he wouldn't fall behind in obtaining the blue bubbles. The changes in the sea fog cave had caught the attention of many. The guards at the mountain gate were also interested. However, their time was limited. After hesitating for a long time, Nan Yushu finally asked Jiang Hao, "Junior brother, were you in the sea fog cave before?" "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. They had hardly communicated in the past month. For him this was quite okay. Everyone stayed out of each other's way. "Do you know the situation in the sea fog cave?" Nan Yushu asked again. There had been frequent changes in the sea fog cave lately, and she was quite curious. However, information was scarce, and they couldn't leave this place for too long. "I think there is a group of people deep inside the sea fog cave, and there have been conflicts for that reason," Jiang Hao said. "Who are they?" Nan Yushu asked impatiently. Then she felt that her tone was inappropriate. "If you can't talk about it, junior brother Jiang, you don't have to feel pressured to tell me." As the top achiever, Jiang Hao definitely knew a bit more than others. Just because he was the top achiever didn't mean he could tell them everything. "I'm not sure. I only received some important information at first, and after that the elders started sending people inside. It seems they confirmed that there were people inside." Jiang Hao didn't mention the life core bead. Nan Yushu didn't ask further. At least now she had a general understanding of the situation. After that, they fell into silence again and continued to guard the mountain gate. "Senior Sister Nan, is it your watch this time?" A man greeted her with a smile. Then he walked inside. 15th time this month. Jiang Hao noticed that this person entered and left frequently. He even brought spirit beasts sometimes. They were used to him. It always felt a bit strange. But for him, it was not something to be concerned about. In the evening at the 100 Flowers Lake, the weather was as pleasant as it was in spring even though it was already August. Next to the red pavilion surrounded by flower clusters, a person impaled a blade into the soil. A woman in red and white robes looked at the lake and was lost in thought. As a gentle breeze swept by, a white figure landed in front of the pavilion. She bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Sect Master." Chapter 536. Why can't I call you sister-in-law? Why couldn't it be fully translated? Hong Yuya took the scroll and looked at it. "I don't know why, but they can't see the content clearly. Even if they do, it changes. Maybe because of the limitation in their cultivation realm." After looking at the original Heaven Lock text for a while, Hong Yuya picked up the... Finally she closed the book. "It's completely wrong." Baiji was surprised. She had also tried to translate it but found it challenging to understand. It seemed like something was preventing her from viewing it. She thought it was because of the heavenly script, but it appeared that wasn't the case. Heaven Lock was far more special than she had imagined. "Let someone else try it." Hong Yuya gave it back to Baiji. Baiji felt helpless. Who should she choose? Who discovered the Heaven Lock? Hong Yuya asked softly. "Jiang Hao," Baiji instinctively said, and then she realized something. Jiang Hao had discovered Heaven Lock and even saw it. He even understood some of the contents. Perhaps he could truly translate the content of Heaven Lock fully. "I understand." Baiji lowered her head. She hesitated. Jiang Hao's discovery of Heaven Lock was probably not accidental. It might be guided by someone behind him. If we hand over Heaven Lock, will we be following that person's intentions? Hong Yuya was calm. "As long as we make sure we receive a copy, that's enough. Some things don't need to be kept exclusive." Baiji understood. With Heaven Lock they could understand many things. The end of all things has been acting secretly. They are probably looking for something. This is the second time, but it's uncertain if it's the same thing as last time. "We have some clues on Feng Hua, but finding the person is difficult," said Baiji. Finally the discussion came back to Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao has high merits but is embroiled in the traitor incident yet again. This time he's been branded as a traitor, and the Law Enforcement Hall has started an investigation. However, there's no evidence to suggest he betrayed the sect, Baiji said. "I've been paying attention to him. It seems like every time his merits are enough to take him off the suspect list, something similar happens. There's a possibility that he wants to be trapped within the sect." Hong Yuya picked up her teacup. "Why is that?" "Perhaps he thinks it's dangerous to go out, or it could be that the person behind him finds it inconvenient to act. After all, once he goes out, many people can easily target him," Baiji said. It was just a guess. It didn't matter whether it was correct or not. Then Baiji left. Hong Yuya looked up at the moonlight, and a gentle breeze swept past her. The wind swayed her dress. Just as it settled, she had disappeared from the pavilion. Both Baiji and Hong Yuya were gone. At the Cliff of Broken Hearts, a young girl stood under a tree and picked jujubes. She appeared nostalgic. It's been so long since I last saw my parents. She missed the days at home. Occasionally she would hide some soft pastries to give to her old foster parents. Their teeth weren't strong, so they could only eat the soft ones. No one is here to sing me a lullaby or tell me stories to help me sleep. Xiaoli looked down at the white jujubes in her hand sadly. Suddenly a figure appeared and a fragrance came with it. Xiaoli felt delighted and looked to her side. Sure enough, she saw a beautiful woman in red and white standing there. Sister-in-law? Senior sister, said Xiaoli. What are you doing? Hong Yuya asked as she looked at the jujubes and the girls. Ants. Eating jujubes. They're very sweet. Xiaoli wiped the jujubes clean and handed them to Hong Yuya. Hong Yuya looked at them. Then she accepted the jujubes. Xiaoli smiled. They taste okay, Hong Yuya said as she took a bite. Why not try this one? This one is very sweet. Xiaoli handed over a jujube she had taken a bite out of. Hong Yuya glanced at her and told her to eat it herself. Why can't I call you sister-in-law? Asked Xiaoli. Under the jujube tree, Hong Yuya looked at the night sky and sat down. A wooden table and chairs appeared out of thin air. Xiaoli sat down too and waited for Hong Yuya to answer her question. Why do you want to call me sister-in-law? Hong Yuya asked. Because senior brother Jiang's scent is on you, and a bit of your scent is on senior brother Jiang, said Xiaoli. Scent. Hong Yuya frowned. What kind of scent is that? It's... Xiaoli scratched her head in conflict. She didn't know how to explain it. It's just like how a bit of senior sister Miao's scent is on senior brother Mu Qi, and a bit of his scent is on her. Hong Yuya was silent for a while. Is that an innate talent that you have? Xiaoli didn't understand. But she didn't mind and just told her that she had been playing with the beast lately. She even told her how important the spirit beast was to her. Because of the spirit beast, she had gotten to eat so many delicious things. Do you often stay with the beast? Hong Yuya was surprised. Yes. After I joined the sect, I frequently followed the beast around. He has important friends, so I always get to eat a lot of good stuff. Hong Yuya didn't say anything. Xiaoli finally fell asleep on the table in the morning. The red and white figure had disappeared at some point, but a red light covered Xiaoli. Occasionally Xiaoli would move and murmur in her sleep. It's mine. I left it for senior brother and senior sister. You can't have it, beast? Early the next morning, two people walked side by side on a narrow path on the outskirts of the sect. They looked toward the direction of the sea fog cave. Their plan failed. They should be preparing to retreat. Indeed, the losses were severe. Tong Tian is dead and Emon Yen from the Imperial City is also dead. Many others as well. A lot of people don't like the idea of us making a comeback. What else can we do? With Heaven Lock, who knows how much impact it will bring? Unfortunately, not just anyone can comprehend Heaven Lock. It's no longer our concern. Let's continue to find suitable individuals. By the way, it seems one of our people has been imprisoned in the Lawless Tower. No worries. They know what to do, and even if they don't, it won't affect too many people. Bam. As they spoke, a person stumbled and fell. Are you okay? Did you just slip? The man got up from the ground and sighed. That person in the Imperial City has become stronger. It seems I need to recover as soon as possible or I'll die. At her hands, I sense a change in the curse, probably from the Thousand Curse body. Human talent is truly remarkable. Then you're in trouble. Aren't you going to contact the person you've been keeping an eye on? I'm considering it. He's the top achiever. What could have happened in the sea? Fog cave to make him the top achiever? Heaven Lock. So, if I go to contact him now, it'll be like seeking death willingly. The people from the Heavenly Note sect are definitely watching him. I'll hold off for now and I'll recover my cultivation realm a bit. Even if he reaches the early stage of the Golden Core realm or truly advances in the Blood Wish path, it won't happen too quickly. It won't affect our plans. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.